Tonight, a farmland search for the bodies of Jesse and Luke and their alleged killers' chilling shopping spree. The 000 call from Jesse's phone moments after shots were heard at Paddington. Pressure on the police commissioner to quit as gun protocols in the force are reviewed. Former Premier Gladys Berejiklian fights to clear her name. Nightclub turns fight club at one of Sydney's most popular venues. And as Manly spread the rugby league word, the Rabbitohs skipper arrives in the United States after the birth of his baby daughter.
This is 9 News with Peter Overton.
Good evening. Chilling new details from police tonight about the murder of Jesse Baird and his partner Luke Davies as the search for their bodies today moved to the southern tablelands. It's been revealed a 000 call was made from Jesse's phone minutes after gunshots were heard in Paddington, and the accused killer purchased an angle grinder, weights and a padlock before disposing of the couple.
A muddy dam, Bungonia, south of Goulburn. A week after Jesse Baird and Luke Davies were murdered, police move in, acting on their best lead yet to find their bodies. The dramatic switch from the murder scene in Paddington to a property 300 kilometres southwest of Sydney came as police established the alleged killer, Constable Beau Lamar Condon, was not acting alone.
The acquaintance is not a suspect in this matter. We believe she was an innocent agent, a long-term friend of the accused.
A woman who sat in the passenger seat of the white Hyde van as it headed south out of Sydney on Wednesday.
Did she know that there were two bodies in that vehicle?
We believe not, no.
But what she did do was help Lamar Condon purchase an angle grinder from a local hardware store. It was used to cut a padlock from the gate of the Bungonia property.
The acquaintance was left at the top of the property for a period of about 30 minutes.
During that time, police believe Lamar Condon could have dumped the bodies. The pair then headed back to Sydney late Wednesday, where he allegedly bought a set of weights. He returned to the Bungonia property early on Thursday morning on his own, possibly spooked his friend might have given him up to police.
We also believe that it's possible the accused in that gap in the timeline has returned to that property and retrieved the bodies and disposed of them somewhere else.
So where next? A mystery that's frustrating for the police, agonising for the families, all while the alleged killer is refusing to reveal where he dumped the bodies.
I can indicate that the accused has not disclosed of where Jesse and Luke are, where he has disposed of them.
But we learned today Lamar Condon has not been totally silent, offering what police say was a partial admission to a friend who's a former cop. But that information was not passed on to police at the time. When gunshots rang out here in Paddington last Monday at 9:50 a.m, neighbours say they heard them but didn't report it. 4 minutes later, a 000 call is made on Jesse's phone. What no one knows was that Jesse making the call in his final moments.
So did it go to the 000 operator?
My understanding is there was no communication.
Today, some of those who knew the men best shared memories. Friends and family of Qantas flight attendant Luke Davies gathering at Bondi, standing hand in hand, hugging and holding a moment of silence. Jesse Baird's mum posting on social media a new photograph, while close friend from Network 10 Daniel Doody joined in. Tributes and still no breakthrough. The search in Bungonia is all over for now, but they won't stop looking. Damian Ryan, 9 News.
Nine's Alex Heinke joins me now from Bungonia near Goulburn, where police have spent most of the day. Alex, so much disappointment there today.
That really is the best way to sum it up, Pete. After today's effort, police are no closer to finding those bodies and the families are no closer to finding the answers they're so desperately after. But the theory is that the alleged killer did dump the bodies here before returning and moving them to a second location. Now, police say that Beau Lamar Condon does have some sort of link to this area, but we've spoken to the owner of the property and he tells us that he has no idea who these men are or why police are now searching his yard for bodies. But either way, Pete, police will be back here first thing tomorrow morning to continue the search.
OK, Alex, thank you. Police Commissioner Karen Webb is defending her leadership in the face of heated criticism over her response to the Paddington tragedy. Tonight, in a rare move, interstate officers have been called in to review the gun protocols of New South Wales Police.
Commissioner Karen Webb fronting cameras for the first time since Jessie Baird and Luke Davies were allegedly murdered by an off-duty constable with his police-issued pistol 7 days ago.
Are there questions over your leadership?
No, and that's offensive. Of course I'm doing my job, but I need to let my detectives do the job that I asked them to do.
A question being echoed across the airwaves.
Put simply, Karen Webb is not up to being the Police Commissioner in the state of New South Wales. The Premier, Chris Minns, must act.
I'm not going to second guess the Police Commissioner on those media matters. The most important job of the Police Commissioner is running a police force that's effective in investigating crime.
Dating back to last year, the Commissioner has been under pressure after refusing to watch body cam vision when 95-year-old Claire Nowland was allegedly tasered and killed by Officer Christian White.
Nothing's stopping you from looking at that video, is there?
But it's not going to change my view about it.
Today, deja vu.
Did you see the video of the tasering incident involving this officer?
No, I haven't. I've heard about it and understand.
Do you think it'd be really
I think
worth...
Yeah, I understand
it's like
where you're
Kuma,
going.
you know, it might be worth looking at it.
That's right. And it will form part of the investigation. And I know that that matter was treated as a complaint and that has been finalised, but obviously that will need to be reconsidered in light of the current matter. This is Beau Lamar Condon tasering Chris Bradshaw in the face and torso at close range in 2020. Why the doing that? Lamar Condon was investigated at the time but cleared of any wrongdoing, stepping straight back onto the beat. It wasn't his first dance in the spotlight, courting headlines as a celebrity chaser from age 16, flaunting selfies with Prince Charles, Lady Gaga and Taylor Swift.
My first interview was Miranda Kerr and John Travolta. I was 16, so I don't know if there's any point of going to uni now because everything's working out. Like, my normal week would be to cover events and interview the biggest celebrities.
Good for you. The following year, he was sworn into the force in Class 326 at the Goulburn Academy.
Is that a fit background for a police officer?
Well, I mean, that will be borne out through the investigation and review of his recruitment file, which includes psychological assessment and other factors. And our recruits are assessed by psychologists, so that will form part of the investigation. But he didn't put down the camera, posing with Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker in Sydney this month, and repeatedly posting selfies with his service weapon on social media. I don't know, and that will form part of the investigation, whether he was on duty, off duty, or the circumstances. How Lamar Condon got his hands on his gun while he was off duty, now the question at the centre of an inquiry. The 28-year-old allegedly signed his gun out of Miranda Police Station, where it is normally kept, on Thursday to work an extra shift at a protest on Sunday. It's alleged to have been fired inside Jessie's Paddington home multiple times on Monday morning. Officers say he stored the gun at Balmain Police Station near his mother's house on Tuesday before returning it to Miranda later that day.
My understanding is that approvals had been made for that firearm to be stored at alternate locations, including premises with an approved gun safe.
Gun handling protocol within New South Wales Police Force is now under scrutiny. Top brass from Victoria called in to head a review into our policies to determine whether they're up to scratch. Frustration from the gay community mourning the murders of two of their own, stoking calls to sever a 20-year-old tradition. Police marching in this weekend's Mardi Gras. I would hate to see that this is the year that we are excluded because of the actions of one person that is not gay hate related. This is a crime of passion, we will allege. Sophie Upcroft, 9 News.
Damian Ryan is with me in the studio now. Damian, it appears police are back to square one with the investigation and the Commissioner is under enormous pressure.
Absolutely, no doubt, Pete. Karen Webb has earned a reputation of avoiding controversy, criticised for not getting on the front foot in times of crisis. Now, the Premier, as we've seen, is standing by her, but there are certainly rumblings within the force that she is not up to it. Now, Commissioner Webb is battle-hardened, of course, and she insists she's not going anywhere. Pete?
Damian, thank you. It took a team of 40 firefighters nearly an hour to bring this factory fire under control at Rydalmere in the city's west. Workers were evacuated when the blaze, which started in an electrical unit, took hold around 7 this morning. Plastic and other chemicals fuelled the fire. Nobody was hurt. A woman in her 40s has been flown by emergency helicopter to Royal Perth Hospital after being attacked by a shark 200 kilometres north of the city. 2 ambulances and air paramedics responding to the attack at Jurien Bay just a couple of hours ago. The woman is seriously injured. It's understood doctors are right now working to save her leg. A landmark challenge is underway in the Supreme Court as Gladys Berejiklian seeks to quash a corruption finding against her. The former Premier's judicial review arguing that the ICAC not only got its report wrong, but also that it took too long.
Monday morning, business as usual, the former Premier off to work as an Optus executive as one of the nation's top silks got on with the job of trying to clear her name.
Has ICAC overstepped the mark here?
Last June, ICAC declared Gladys Berejiklian had engaged in serious corrupt conduct by keeping secret a 5-year relationship with then-colleague Darryl Maguire while making funding decisions for his Wagga Wagga electorate, findings challenged in the Court of Appeal. Brett Walker SC arguing the notion that a connection is impropriety can only be regarded as a black, depressing and unrealistic view of human life. So the ministry is to be comprised of people without attachments, which is nonsense.
ICAC has already faced intense scrutiny in the court of public opinion over how long it took to release the Berejiklian report. Her legal team now argues that delay was also legally fraught.
Ms Berejiklian first called to the stand in mid-2020, the report not handed down until 2023, after Ruth McCall's term as Assistant Commissioner had officially expired. The whole report was delivered in excess of jurisdiction, Mr Walker argued.
Gladys Berejiklian and anyone else is fully entitled to have that reviewed judicially in the Supreme Court. I'm going to let them make that decision.
Representatives for ICAC this afternoon began their response rejecting claims that there was no evidence that Ms Berejiklian was influenced by the relationship, arguing that she favoured Mr Maguire because of it. In the city, Liz Daniels, 9 News.
A key date has been set in the alleged rape trial against former Liberal staffer Bruce Lamman. Witnesses will be examined in June at the Toowoomba Magistrates Court in Queensland as parties of a committal hearing decide whether or not he'll face trial on rape charges. Mr Lamman is accused of 2 counts of rape in October 2021, of which he denies. The committal hearing is set for June 17. Meantime, a man has pleaded guilty at a Tweed Heads court today for threatening to kill Brittany Higgins, her fiancé and their pet dog via social media. Police say the 49-year-old sent nearly 50 messages containing offensive content to the couple over a 12-month period. He is due to be sentenced next month. 3 men and a woman from the city's west are facing charges tonight over an alleged kidnapping that came to a dramatic end at a home on Webb Street in North Parramatta on Friday night. Police rescuing a man they claim was a hostage and allegedly found drugs and ammunition inside the property. The group from Parramatta and Lidcombe have been refused bail. The Senate could be just hours away from granting every Australian worker a tax cut. The changes to the Stage 3 tax cuts are being debated in the upper house tonight as the cost of living struggles played out on Parliament's lawns.
Monday morning and a pat on the back from foes in the Parliament. But outside, the men that maintain the building claim their latest pay offer is closer to a slap in the face.
What they're asking for is a decent pay rise to help alleviate the ongoing cost of living pressures.
Pressure felt by many. Tax cuts will help.
Treasury Laws Amendment Cost of Living Tax Cuts Bill.
Tonight, the adjusted Stage 3 tax cuts are before the Senate, offering an extra $29 per week for average workers, $15 per week for our lowest paid. Barring a shock, they'll pass this week.
And we call on the opposition to stop stuffing around in the Senate and to pass the tax cuts that Australians need and deserve.
The Coalition support for a tax cut should never be read as an endorsement of Labor's breach of faith.
Just putting a little sticky band-aid on that doesn't last very long is never going to get the reaction that you need out of the Australian public.
And there's still a wait. Australians will notice the difference in their pay from July 1. And Australians will see the difference between what men and women in the same company are paid from tomorrow.
The data last week, the gender pay gap is now the lowest it's ever been on record.
Every company with more than 100 employees will have pay disparity published for the first time.
It's fine to have a morning tea with pink icing on your cupcakes and talk about gender equality, but you need to back it in with real action.
If you don't start paying women the same and paying everyone fairly, then you're going to be held to account for it.
The politics of pay about to get personal. Charles Croucher, 9 News.
Meantime, the average full-time salary in Australia has passed $100,000 for the first time. Finance editor Chris Kohler explains what it means for the fight against inflation.
$100,000 used to be the big leagues. Now, according to the government, it's the average. Important to say first, this is pre-tax full-time salaries, and it's an average, so it's pulled higher by those earning massive incomes. But this is a milestone, and it comes after wages jumped 4.2% in the most recent data. This is the most up-to-date snapshot of who's earning what. Miners remain on top, and educators now, apparently, sit above the average. Healthcare isn't far behind, while retail and hospitality workers are down the bottom of the list. Wage increases have been hard fought and critically important for families trying to keep up with inflation. But wages are also part of the problem. Treasury data shows labour costs are now the biggest driver of inflation. So the RBA has to decide whether Australians can have wage increases above inflation as well as interest rate cuts at the same time.
Thank you, Chris. A 67-year-old Australian tourist has gone missing in Zimbabwe's Victoria Falls National Park. A search team, including sniffer dogs and drones, has been deployed. Thousands visit the park every year to see one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. The United States, Egypt, Qatar and Israel have agreed on basic contours of a temporary ceasefire to release hostages, according to the US National Security Advisor. This will now be taken to discussions between Hamas and Israel, with potential for a truce deal this week. In a rare admission, Ukraine's president has revealed 31,000 Ukrainian troops have been killed since the start of the war 2 years ago. President Zelensky refused to disclose the number of soldiers missing or wounded, saying it could be used by Russian intelligence. It is time now to check in on today's weather. Good evening, Belinda.
Evening, Pete. A sunny start to our day before the clouds rolled in. A southerly change sweeping into Sydney just before lunchtime, becoming fresh late this afternoon. Those cooler winds capping temperatures earlier than usual. The city peaking at 27.9 just before 11:30 this morning. That's about 3 degrees above the February average. Lighter winds in our west, allowing the mercury to climb into the 30s. Penrith making it to 32. A cooler day tomorrow, but summer isn't finished with us yet. The last day of the month delivering scorching heat. I'll have all the details for you after Sport, Pete.
Belinda, thank you. Nightclub turns fight club. Fist fly at one of Sydney's most popular bars. See how it all ends next. How did this happen? A runaway train without a driver for 80 kilometres causes panic. Australian billionaire Gina Rinehart's very public support for Donald Trump as he eyes off for White House return. And filling the hole at Ryde, an update on plans for this local eyesore. A man has been charged after a brawl broke out between a dozen men at the Ivy's rooftop bar in the heart of the city. That's where we find reporter Zara James tonight. Zara, this was all filmed by onlookers.
It was, Pete. This brawl broke out at the Ivy Pool Bar just before 6 o'clock last night. Several men could be seen trading punches before others stepped in to try and pull them away from each other and break this all up. One man is knocked over, falling by the pool and ending up with blood on his face. Police were called in to assist. A 23-year-old man was taken to St Vincent's Hospital to be treated for concussion, a cut to his eye and other injuries. He is in a stable condition. Just now, another 23-year-old man from Maryland has been charged with a fray, and police are still hoping to identify others involved, Pete.
All right, Zara, thank you. Namibia's late president has been laid to rest in a state funeral attended by dignitaries including Princess Anne. Hage Geingob died earlier this month. He'd been receiving treatment for cancer. The 82-year-old was only the third president since the country gained independence in 1990. A major donor will stop funding Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley's campaign. Another blow just a day after losing the South Carolina primary to Donald Trump. Meantime, billionaire mining magnate Gina Rinehart has been spotted at the Conservative political conference as the former US president spoke to supporters. A runaway freight train has caused panic in India, barrelling along for more than 70 kilometres without a driver. The train had been stopped for a driver change when it began to roll down a slope track. It was eventually brought to a halt with wooden stoppers. Ukraine's plea to Australia for coal to keep its power stations running has gone unanswered, almost 3 months after Kyiv's desperate request. 9 News can reveal that the politics of climate change may have contributed to the federal government's resistance to the donation.
Just over 2 years since Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine, the war grinds on amid unspeakable suffering.
We need the support of the free world to help us.
Ukraine's ambassador to Australia, Vasyl Miroshnichenko, says withstanding Vladimir Putin's relentless assault needs a coordinated response from the Western world.
Manpower, money and materiel, and that may include money, that may include energy support, that may include military assistance, military aid.
Australia's generosity has been appreciated, he says, but it's Australia's coal it needs desperately. To that end, the ambassador wrote to Foreign Minister Penny Wong almost 3 months ago. We ask for Australia's urgent energy aid, he told her. For Ukraine, coal is an immediate survival imperative. Coal is not a lifestyle choice, but a life-saving necessity.
Without power, without energy, we just cannot operate.
But he's had no reply, despite 3 unions warning the Labor government that Ukrainian lives are at stake and that it's the least we can do. The Morrison government donated 70,000 tonnes of coal to Ukraine
to help power up their resistance.
That cost $30 million, the coalition urging a repeat.
Coal is king, Australia delivers coal, Ukraine's asked for it, Albanese should deliver it.
9 News has been told there's internal Labor disquiet about making a fossil fuel donation to the war effort, and that this is why Ukraine's request has so far not been met. Andrew Probin, 9 News.
Next, we have breaking news on an Australian pilot reportedly kidnapped in PNG, plus a $12 million sinister find in Sydney's northwest. Disguised in bottles of sand in a Box Hill storage unit will explain it all. Keeping connected at Concord, the social programs being offered to Sydney seniors to combat isolation. The Premier, under the pump, fed up fireys to send on Parliament with a passionate message. And a drop in the ocean, the wine from an undersea cellar that's ready for you to drink. As we come back to you, we have breaking news. There are reports an Australian helicopter pilot, along with 2 other workers, have been kidnapped in Papua New Guinea. It's believed to have occurred in the country's remote highlands. 300 kilograms of MDMA and 70 kilograms of ketamine have been uncovered at a Box Hill storage facility, hidden in boxes of water bottles and sand. The Federal Police claim the MDMA stash alone has a street value of $12 million. They're now hunting the international crime syndicate behind the illicit import. There's finally a plan for the spot where Ryde's Civic Centre once stood before it was demolished in 2021. The council looking to build a park at a cost of $14 million. No formal development application has been lodged. They are wise with plenty of experience, but for many seniors, life can get lonely. Now more than $500,000 has been invested into a special program aimed at keeping people connected with their community.
A busy social catch-up, and for these seniors at Concord Library, it's a weekly games morning that keeps them connected.
I think this is very, very good for people to gather and speak to each other.
Meeting new people and doing activities which cause you to use your brain.
The New South Wales government has handed out 21 grants worth $600,000 to boost seniors' social network.
They're really about bringing people together and creating those really strong connections, which is really good for their health, for their mental well-being.
Among the recipients, the community circle at Concord, the money going towards a paid connector, a person that links seniors with services and social activities.
We met the friends, we played, we have a coffee.
My husband's recently gone into a nursing home.
I can try.
So I've got lots of hours in the day to fill, and even though I go and see him most days, I just need something to do.
The community circle the idea of John and Justine Perkins, who aim to foster inclusiveness.
We've got a phrase which is, it takes a village to raise a senior. What we've actually found, particularly since COVID, is that the communities are getting less connected. There's social isolation, loneliness, mental health, it's all on the rise.
The program was initially trialled in the Southern Highlands, where almost 700 seniors were connected over a year. It's hoped there's similar success elsewhere.
And at Concord, there's rarely a spare seat.
Some people can grow old very quickly at quite a young age when they don't stay connected.
Vicky Jardim, 9 News.
Our state's firefighters are stepping up the call for more pay, parking up their trucks and protesting outside Parliament this afternoon. The Fire Brigade Employees Union claims there's been little feedback from the state government since they put forward a list of demands in November. Premier Chris Minns today warning the negotiation process could take some time. There's been a very expensive crash on the Gold Coast. The driver of this luxury Lamborghini losing control on a busy road, spinning and smashing into a power pole, the force of the impact snapping it in half. Wet weather was a likely factor in the crash. The $800,000 ride is now a write-off. Luckily, the driver walked away uninjured. New South Wales appears to be the smartest state leading the nation when it comes to NAPLAN. 50 primary schools across New South Wales claiming a spot in the top 100 schools in Australia. Our state also had 48 of the top 100 secondary schools. Victoria was the next best performer with 36 primary schools in the top 100 and 31 secondary schools. An Australian company is selling a unique wine that has been cellared on the ocean floor. The water and waves provide perfect conditions for ageing. And now these Aussies are ready to take their product to the next level.
Under the pristine, cool waters of the Southern Ocean, a hidden treasure. Bottle after bottle of wine cellaring in the sea.
We use the natural ocean to replicate what man's doing on land.
Rare Foods farms abalone in waters about a kilometre off Augusta in southwest WA. But they're also ageing crates of wine from Margaret River beneath the waves.
Why is the ocean such a good place to sell a wine?
The temperature only changes by about 2 degrees throughout the year, so we've got a constant temperature.
After 12 months, the barnacle-covered bottles are brought to the surface, cleaned up and sold.
What do they look like when they come up?
Ocean treasure. Quite literally. Our inaugural products sold like hotcakes. Most people are seeing them as collector's items.
The team inspired by the 2010 discovery of 170-year-old bottles of perfectly preserved Veuve Clicquot on a shipwreck. Now, Rare Foods is partnering with French company Wine Reef International to trial making a Cab Sauv and Chardonnay underwater. In April, they'll anchor 250-litre vats of wine to the ocean floor at a depth of 20 metres.
How do you make such good wine under the ocean?
The ocean swell, the pressure, which encourages that secondary fermentation process, and the temperature. Those are the three things.
The vats will spend around 6 months underwater. It's hoped they'll produce 13,000 bottles of wine, which will be available to purchase later this year.
We're pretty excited to try it.
Natalia Cooper, 9 News.
A postie mowed down by an alleged drunk driver. Police say she was nearly 3 times over the limit with children in the car when Andy Brown was run over. We speak with him after sport. Plus, Sydney households being slugged more for electricity than local cafes and shops. James Daly Cherry Evans knows his new partnership with Luke Brooks. it won't be plain sailing.
Good evening to you, Pete. No, tonight the Manly skipper explains why he thinks Brooks will be hit at his new club, but it may take some time. In the meantime, the Seagulls are spreading league's word in Vegas. Jason Saab making his American TV debut. We catch up with South captain Cameron Murray, how he'll make up for lost time after remaining home with his newborn daughter. Plus, the Matildas are home and ready to book their place in Paris.
And get ready for a late summer scorcher. Sydney will soar into the 40s this week. The latest forecast is coming up soon.
From the paddock to your porch. Sydney families buying straight from our farmers.
I did find that the cost was comparable with the supermarket.
Top quality, Aussie grown.
We've given farmers a lot of hope that there is something different, there is something better.
9 News, your news, tomorrow at 6.
The Seagulls promised to spruik the NRL's Vegas doubleheader, and today Jason Saab made good on that commitment, talking the game up on American TV. Manly's clash with the Rabbitohs on Sunday will be the first time we see that new halves combo in action of Dally Cherry-Evans and Luke Brooks.
Spreading the rugby league word to the USA, Jason Saab, a special guest on a weekly sports show on Las Vegas TV.
We're rolling. Here we go.
They're also spreading the word on the street, the Seagulls spending a day out sightseeing around town. Taking it all in for now, but soon attention will turn to the footy.
We sort of knew coming over here how lucky we were, so hopefully we can make it a real enjoyable experience by getting a win next week.
It's not just the location that's different for Cherry-Evans. He'll also have a brand new halves partner alongside him in Luke Brooks.
He's a really good footy player, despite what he's been through at the Tigers. He's really good at footy. He gets footy. He plays to his strengths really well, and I think he's going to complement our side and hopefully take us to another level this year.
This is such a vital game for Manly. Cherry-Evans and Brooks have never played a game together, not even in a trial match. And the captain knows it won't be smooth sailing to start.
I think it's pretty naive to think that there might not be teething issues, but it could quite easily be, complicated, I guess. But the thing that we both have is experience, so understanding that we just need to probably keep it really simple early rounds. If we're combining and keeping it calm, I think over time it'll build, but ideally we're just going to start off nice and steady.
And once they find their groove, Cherry-Evans believes it will be the perfect fit.
He was the main man at the Tigers. There was a lot of pressure on him, but when he's at Manly, with the role he has to play, he doesn't have to be anything extra at Manly. He doesn't have to be the main man. He doesn't have to be the superhero. He literally just has to come and be Luke Brooks.
In Las Vegas, Danica Mason, 9 News.
Well, most of the NRL stars in the US are loving League's Vegas adventure, but leaving home wasn't as easy for Cameron Murray, the Rabbitohs captain, leaving behind his wife and their brand new baby daughter.
The skipper rolled into La Jolla in style, given time off by the club for a good reason. Cam has just been with his first bub, a little girl Avalon who was born just under 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's been a big 2 weeks actually, so I'm really grateful the club let me stay back and look after my two girls while I was back home, but everyone's doing well, happy and healthy there. So
Murray has long been comfortable as a leader of men, but that hasn't prepared him for his latest role.
Can you believe you're a dad?
No, it's hard to get my head around at the moment. There's been so many emotions and it's just been a crazy week or two. So I'm happy everything at home's all settled down and everyone's healthy, so I can just focus on footy here. But definitely already missing them.
Must have been hard to leave.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was pretty hard, but I'm lucky that the club gave me time to look after my family and now I'm here. So
he was greeted by an early rising Tom Burgess and his coach.
Boys have been missing you. They've been wanting their captain.
Have they?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. I'm keen to see him. I miss the boys.
And Murray knows his teammates have been hard at it. He wants to catch up.
When do you rip in and start doing stuff?
I might do a little recovery session today and then we start tomorrow. So, I've got 5 or 6 days, I think, to prepare, which should be enough.
In La Jolla, Danny Weidler, 9 News.
A huge blow for the Eels, with Micah Sevo set to miss the opening 3 weeks of this season for his high shot on Titan AJ Brimson in Parramatta's 26-16 trial win. The winger is expected to take the early guilty plea, but if he fights the Grade 2 charge and loses, he'll miss a month due due to his poor record. The AFL season isn't far away either, but Swan Luke Parker won't be there for the start of it. The experienced midfielder has undergone surgery after breaking his arm in last week's practice match against the Giants.
It's as tough as they come, Luke. He ran off and said my arm's a bit sore and ended up being broken. So, we're bummed for Luke, but we think we got really good experience, especially with the new recruits that we've got in.
It's unclear when Parker will return, while Callum Mills says he won't be back from his shoulder surgery until May. Super Rugby's version of Magic Round is this weekend in Melbourne, and it doesn't get any tougher for the Waratahs, a meeting with the all-conquering Crusaders.
I think it's just they've been so dominant for so long that every team's up for it. When you play against the Crusaders, you can't not be. 7 years in a row now, so you just get excited. You have to be. If you're going to beat the best, it's got to be your best performance. So.
Centre Isaiah Bracey is in doubt after he was concussed in the opening round loss to the Reds. A reality check for our women's rugby sevens team ahead of the Olympics, stunned by France in the semi-finals of the Vancouver Sevens. The world champs then went down to Canada in the bronze medal match, finishing in fourth. Our men's side finished 10th, beaten by South Africa 24-7 in their playoff game. It's a short turnaround for the Matildas, who touched down in Melbourne this morning. They're just 90 minutes away from qualifying for the Olympics with a 3-0 aggregate lead over Uzbekistan.
Obviously, since the World Cup, we love coming here. We love playing in Australia. The fans are incredible. We just love to make this country proud and, hopefully we can put another good performance and qualify for the Olympics.
It's going to be a full house at Marvel Stadium. More than 50,000 tickets have been sold for Wednesday nights. They fielded what was labelled a second-string team, but Liverpool has again won English football's League Cup, beating Chelsea 1-0. The game went to extra time before Virgil van Dijk scored the winner, resigning the Blues to a 6th straight loss in domestic cup finals, heaping more pressure on manager Mauricio Pochettino and his $1 billion squad. Doing Darren Lockyer proud tonight here in studio.
I've never heard you sound better, mate.
Thanks so much. Blame Tay-Tay.
Well done. You got through it. Well done. I'll see you tomorrow, I hope. Next, the rider run over by an alleged drunk driver. Andy Brown hit from behind, but incredibly lives to tell the tale. We talk to him next. Also, 1,000 reasons to be angry. Sydney households paying more than businesses for their power. And the new one-stop shop for parents and carers with small children to access rebates, services and support. This is the moment a postie says his life was forever changed. An allegedly drunk mother who was driving an SUV with 2 children inside is accused of running over Andy Brown after knocking him off his motorbike. The Adelaide man was left with permanent health issues, including a broken neck, and says he's been forced to leave his job.
If I can never ride again. The one thing I actually love to do.
When I got the call, I thought he was dead. She ran over his head and his chest and he was dead.
The footage emerging ahead of the SU driver appearing in court in April. Electricity prices are soaring and there's growing concern households are paying hundreds more than businesses for the same amount of power. Meantime, the Premier today handing out a hefty chunk of funding to develop clean energy initiatives.
Innovative ideas and cutting-edge technology all aimed at bolstering clean energy. Rux Energy is just one company which promises to change the way businesses operate.
When you think about the big Class 8 trucks, if you were to run it on batteries, you'd go 300, maybe 400 kilometres. Run it on hydrogen, you go 700-800 kilometres. If you run it on hydrogen with our advanced materials, you can then go 12 to 1,800 kilometres.
The state government announcing $275 million in clean energy grants, offering funding for small to medium-sized businesses to pilot new technology.
Last year alone, New South Wales sold $40 billion worth of coal to partners throughout mainly Asia. Now we know those economies have made it clear that they're going to get out of that business in the years ahead.
It's one thing to have an idea, it's one thing to do the science and the research and the discovery, but actually to bring that all the way through to market and not just having a product in market, being a survivable, thriving business.
The funding targets technology already proven in a lab, as well as the manufacturing of products that are ready to be released to the market. It comes as households face soaring electricity bills, while the profits of major providers are more than doubling. There's allegations of unfair treatment, with Aussie households being charged more than businesses for the same amount of electricity, in some cases by more than $1,000 a year.
Well, I'm pretty unhappy about it, but it is the system that's there as a result of privatisation, and we'll keep working to try and improve that.
Vicky Jardim, 9 News.
Online retailer Kogan starred on the share market today, surging by almost a quarter as it touts a boom in value-hungry buyers. Here's our finance editor, Chris Kohler.
A steady day overall on the market, but some big winners and losers. Kogan and Adairs saw huge rallies after reporting better than expected half-year profits. Kogan brought back its dividend, which was always going to be met with a thumbs up. But TPG and Endeavour Group, which owns Dan Murphy's bottle shops, were on the other end of the scale, failing to impress shareholders with their profits. The market remains near record highs, so super funds are making solid gains, and a range of companies are at their highest level in over a year, like these ones. Finally, the Aussie dollar started the week on the back foot, down slightly against most major currencies.
Thank you, Chris. Looking at the price of unleaded petrol across Sydney tonight, the average is $1.97.1 a litre. You can find it cheaper at Yagoona, located on Rookwood Road. Petrol also cheaper on Park Road at Regents Park. Accessing help and information when your children are small could now be as simple as logging onto a website with the launch of the state government's Brighter Beginning Hub. The site puts links to services and rebates in one place to make it easier for parents and carers to find.
We know that it's a complex time of your life when you're a parent to a little person, when you're having a baby and when you've got a 0 to 5-year-old, there's a lot to navigate. This hub will help.
The state government is also investing nearly $770 million on new preschools across the state. A Gold Coast mother who gave up her Taylor Swift ticket to receive a kidney transplant is recovering well in hospital after surgery. Tamara Gray received the phone call for the procedure just moments before boarding her flight to Sydney. The 35-year-old is planning to head overseas with friends once she's recovered to see the pop superstar in action. Coming up in our news, Belinda with the weather.
Thank you, Pete. Right now it's around 24 degrees across Sydney, but feels more like 21 in the city thanks to some fresh southerlies. So far, no rain recorded today, but a warning for Tay-Tay fans. The Bureau says there's still a slight chance of a shower later this evening. Temperatures heating up for the final few days of summer. The forecast is next. Welcome back. Plenty of sunshine for Sydney this morning to kick off a new week. You can't beat a good sunrise, so here's a little treat for you. Burnt orange skies as the sun rose above the horizon. That beautiful morning light bouncing off the clouds, making the view even more spectacular. That cloud clearing, but then building again at lunchtime. A southerly change sweeping into Sydney, capping temperatures earlier than usual. The city hitting its top temperature just before 11:30 this morning, reaching 28. Lighter winds in our west allowing the mercury to climb into the 30s. Penrith making it to 32, about 3 degrees above the February average. Scattered showers are developing along the southern half of the New South Coast this evening. There's also the chance of a shower on the north coast, but a dry and mostly sunny day for inland parts. Top temperatures generally 3 to 5 degrees warmer than average for this time of year, with most places reaching the mid to high 30s. Cooler on the south coast thanks to some fresh southerlies. Bateman's Bay stopping at 23, which is 2 degrees cooler than average. Those onshore winds sticking around tomorrow, so we could see some more coastal showers. Otherwise a high bringing warm and dry conditions to the rest of our state. Around the country tomorrow, fine day for Brisbane as well, with a top of 31. 27 and cloudy skies for Canberra, hot and sunny in Melbourne with a top of 30, partly cloudy and 25 in Hobart, soaring to 36 in Adelaide, partly cloudy and a top of 29 for Perth. Back home, and conditions will be much like today. Scattered showers expected along the southern half of the coast again, plus the chance of a shower elsewhere in the east. Though southerlies keeping top temperatures cooler than average on the south coast, around 23 or 24. Inland New South Wales remaining dry and mostly sunny, with that heat building across the northwest. Burke forecast to hit 42, that's 7 degrees above the February average, and 36 the top for Narrabri and Griffith. On to Sydney, and we are in for a mostly cloudy day with light winds and a medium chance of showers, most likely in our west, and less than a millimetre forecast. A cooler day ahead for our western suburbs with tops around 25 or 26. The city also heading for 26 after a low of 21. Overnight lows in our west around 18 to 20. After tomorrow, things heating up again. The city warming up to 30 degrees on Wednesday, with cloud clearing, hot and sunny on Thursday, soaring to 37 before the next southerly arrives. At this stage, we might get a shower or two over the weekend, with tops around 30 degrees on Saturday and 27 on Sunday. A top of just 24 in our west next Monday, but we are in for a scorcher on Thursday, hitting the 40s. Summer finish with a bang, Pete.
Belinda, thank you. Ali is next with the current affair. That is 9 News for this Monday. I'm Peter Overton. I hope you have a good evening. From all of us, good night.